Welcome to our podcast, folks. Let's jump straight into the dynamics between China and the EU. They're celebrating 50 years of diplomatic relations, and the heart of it all is trade, you know?
Absolutely, it's fascinating. Trade really seems to be the glue here.
Right, trade is the powerhouse in this relationship, with both China and the EU being among the largest economies after the US. There's a lot at stake.
Yeah. So, what do you think is the major reason they're drawing closer now? Is it just the economic incentives?
Well, it's not just the incentives. There's this backdrop of global volatility. The Chinese foreign minister's recent visit to the EU headquarters is a clear sign. He's pushing for tighter, more stable economic ties amid a really unpredictable global scene.
Right, and in that volatile world, aligning with a major partner like the EU makes strategic sense for China. It's like both sides are trying to balance out external pressures.
Exactly. And there's also a response to what the US under President Trump has been doing with tariffs. Those sweeping measures have, well, stirred up a lot of trouble for global trade.
Right, the US tariffs have certainly disrupted a lot of traditional patterns. But isn't it interesting how both China and the EU seem to be motivated by similar interests despite their many differences?
Yeah, it's like trade needs override many ideological differences for the moment. Despite disagreements over, say, rare earth minerals or security issues, they recognize the economic benefits of closer ties.
And you mentioned security. How does that factor into their relationship? Is it just the economic side or is there more at play?
Security does play a vital role. For the EU, securing its supply chains, particularly for critical resources like rare earths and advanced technologies, is a big driver. For China, it's about gaining a strategic partner that offers stability in a world where US policies are unpredictable.
So, in a way, they're not only leaning on each other for economic growth, but also for strategic leverage, right?
Right on. And we also have speakers on the scene pointing out that this relationship is yet another twist in the ongoing narrative of global power shifts. On one side, you have the US pressing with tariffs, and on the other, China and the EU are tightening economic bonds.
That makes me wonder though, could this deepening relationship also be seen as an implicit counterbalance to US influence?
Indeed, that's a sharp observation. With US economic policies becoming more aggressive and sometimes unilateral, China and the EU find common cause. But it's
Yeah, I
not
see
so
where
much
you're
an
coming
open
from.
alliance as a pragmatic interdependence.
Pragmatic interdependence. That's a nice way to put it. Yet, don't you think there's also a lot of tension under the surface? I mean, they have some pretty fundamental disagreements on issues like market access and even human rights.
Absolutely. And here's where it gets interesting. Trade and economic ties are strengthening, but the political and regulatory frameworks are still totally mismatched. While both sides push for closer economic relations, they maintain a cautious distance on broader political issues.
It's kind of like a high stakes dance, isn't it? Both parties need each other, yet they keep their guard up.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also this intriguing chapter in the discussion about interdependence. Both sides reckon that despite the disagreements, the benefits of a stable trade relationship far outweigh the tensions.
I get that. But doesn't that interdependence sometimes mask the underlying issues? I mean, long term sustainability might be at risk if the trust isn't there.
That's a fair critique. Some experts point out that while short term economic gains are evident, the deeper strategic trust hasn't fully materialized. It's kind of like making a deal with a partner you know can be unpredictable in the long run, right?
Yeah, true. And it's not only economic factors, there's also the whole matter of global trade rules. With tariffs impacting sectors like rare earths and electric vehicles, both sides are trying to redefine what trade fairness looks like.
Definitely. For instance, tariffs on EVs and disputes over market access add layers of complexity to the relationship. While they clamor for more economic interdependence, the reality is that issues like these expose vulnerabilities.
So, we have this dual narrative. On one hand, strengthening trade ties, and on the other, unresolved issues that might brew conflict later. It's a bit paradoxical.
Absolutely paradoxical. There's a sort of balancing act going on. Each side has its reasons for pushing closer, but it's not a flawless union by any stretch of the imagination.
Right. Let's talk a bit about the significance of the 50-year mark. That's a long time. How do you see this anniversary influencing current policies?
The 50th anniversary isn't just symbolic, it highlights decades of evolving interactions. Over time, the relationship has transformed from mere diplomatic courtesy into a robust, though cautious, economic interdependence.
Yeah. And as they celebrate such a milestone, both sides are clearly trying to leverage that history to establish a more resilient framework for the future, especially in the face of global uncertainties.
Exactly, it's like they've learned from past stumbles and now are in this race to reinforce bilateral ties amid growing global competition. And guess what? Trade remains at the core, but there's also this underlying drive towards strategic security and self sufficiency on both sides.
So, while both the economic benefits and geopolitical imperatives push them together, there's this constant careful negotiation, right?
Right. And what's interesting is how this negotiation is influenced by what we might call external pressures. With the US tariffs reshaping global trade, both China and the EU have been forced into recalibrating their strategies.
Absolutely. It's almost like they're responding to a shared disruption, and this common challenge is, in a way, driving cooperation despite the friction.
Yes, that's the crux of it. And then there's the whole discussion around trade wars, alternating periods of dispute and détente. For instance, issues like the alleged Chinese manipulation of market conditions and similar EU complaints also keep the dialogue very lively and sometimes contentious.
I can see that. And sometimes you almost wonder if these trade disputes might eventually lead to a more limited or even fractious relationship down the line.
I mean, that's a possibility. But right now, it seems both sides, on balance, are more inclined toward boosting trade ties than risking further isolation. It's a bit like a calculated gamble.
Yeah. What really intrigues me is the long-term impact of these policies. Do you think that resolving the economic frictions now could potentially pave the way for deeper political cooperation, or will the disagreements always linger?
That's a tough one. On the one hand, if both parties manage to clear up trade disputes regarding EV tariffs and rare earths, for instance, it could create a more stable foundation for broader alignment. But on the other, these are deeply rooted issues that might always cause fevered debates. It's a bit of a double-edged sword.
I agree. There's a real risk that too much focus on economic gains could overshadow deeper strategic fissures. Yet it's also true that economic interdependence sometimes builds bridges over political divides.
Exactly. It's that same dynamic we see in life, when two parties, despite their differences, decide that the benefits of working together are just too significant to ignore. And sometimes that means compromising on tougher issues for the sake of progress.
In the end, it appears that the China-EU relationship is about finding that balance, nurturing economic ties while navigating a minefield of political and strategic challenges.
Right. And as we watch developments unfold, it's clear that this relationship is as dynamic as ever. Both sides are in a constant state of negotiation, teetering between cooperation and contention.
Yeah.
It's a real-life chess game on the global stage.
Well said. It's like every move they make not only affects their own economies, but reshapes the geopolitical landscape for all of us.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why this unfolding story is so compelling. It's a reminder that global trade and diplomacy are, in many ways, intertwined with the broader quest for stability in an ever-changing world.
Absolutely. It's an evolving narrative with a lot of moving parts, and only time will tell if the current trajectory will lead to more cooperative frameworks or further discord.
Well, folks, that wraps up our deep dive on what's drawing China and the EU closer. Trade, security, history, and a shared response to external pressures all intertwined. Until next time, keep watching how these strong ties shape our global future.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Stay tuned for our next conversation as we unravel another thread from the fabric of global politics.